The picture back here, can anybody tell me, you guys over here can see this? Who
Go
is
ahead.
that? Okay. So what we're looking at today is that bigger question of, do the ends justify the means? And we're talking about it in a broad sense. This is a narrow case that we can use to consider that question, but it's a much broader question than just the Civil War. Ends of the Civil War. If we look at the facts, African Americans made up only about 1% of the population in the North. So was slavery a real threat to the North at the beginning of the war? No, it really wasn't. It was not what we call now an existential threat. Now that's a really big word, but existential comes from the root existence. So slavery did not threaten the existence of the North, of the Civil War. If we look at the facts, African Americans made up only about 1% of the population in the North. So was slavery a real threat to the North at the beginning of the war? No, it really wasn't. It was not what we call now an existential threat. Now that's a really big word, but existential comes from the root existence. So slavery did not threaten the existence of the North. Nonetheless, 4 million were slaves. So that's what we're thinking about when we talk about the ends. We're talking about this bottom number here, 4 million slaves freed. Okay, so let's number. And the casualties were heavy on both sides. Let's think about things other than just human lives. Sherman's march to the sea alone, so one campaign that lasted about 6 weeks, one campaign alone inflicted $1.4 billion of damage to the South. That means crops destroyed, houses destroyed, property destroyed, roads destroyed, bridges destroyed. Yes?
Is that today's one?
That is in today's numbers, yeah. Good question. So what were Lincoln's actions here? And we talked about these yesterday. We watched some of these. These were things that Lincoln did that we might think were a little questionable. We've studied a lot about the Constitution, and we've studied a lot about and talked about the need of former and current administrations to follow the Constitution. It's there as a framework, balance of powers, checks and balances, all those things we've talked about. So the first one here is suspension of habeas corpus, and we talked about that.
Well, also, like the documentary said, at the almost near the end of what we were hearing, it said that it didn't apply to different countries, and that's what the South thought that they were going to be.
Yes, and that was certainly a justification. That one in particular was, we don't have to return slaves. The Dred Scott decision, which was in your reading yesterday, the Dred Scott decision by the Supreme Court said, prior to the war, that the North, even though they're not slave states, have to return runaway slaves to the South. And they suspended that, a Supreme Court ruling. And the Supreme Court's the one that interprets the Constitution, right? They suspended it and instead kept those slaves as confiscated property. These are some of the things I want you to think about. The first, so this is our big question, the first is the definition of justify. We all know what the ends are, that's the result. The means are the way you get there. What does it mean to justify? It's a dictionary definition. To show something to be right, to defend actions as necessary, to declare innocent. That's almost a Bible kind of idea of justification. So, do the ends, the end being 4 million slaves freed, do they make right or defend the idea or declare innocent those who were involved in the 620,000 deaths, the suspension of the Constitution?
Ends, do you mean like the goal, like, or do you mean like in slavery in general, or just the 4 million slaves free?
I mean the end of the practice of slavery, which was accomplished by the 13th Amendment. Okay, after the war. Nice and loud.
Well, I don't remember what article it was in, but it says in the Constitution that a state can secede from the nation as long as their legislators permit it.
Okay, I'm not sure it says exactly that, but you're talking about Article 4, which says basically that things that are not covered in the Constitution revert to the rights of the states. What about the Declaration of Independence? Does it give us any clue as to whether or not it would be okay for a state to secede?
It talks about if a ruler is unjust, then they should separate from that and fix the problem.
That's right. Okay, anybody remember the exact wording of that? That whenever any form of government
becomes abusive towards citizens, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it.
right, and to institute new government. War in blood and treasure. So in lives and the physical monetary cost was enormous. Evidence of ongoing racial and regional strife remains today. Do we still have racial problems in America? Yeah, we do. Do we still have some tension between southern states and northern states? Yeah, we do. So did we really accomplish what we had set out to fully? Was it enough? Was it enough that those slaves were freed? Okay, and then the last question to consider there, could slavery have been ended in any other way? Now remember, all of this relates back to our big question. Did the ends justify, make right, declare innocent, correct or wrong, slavery? Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So if it could have been ended any other way, there were more, didn't you say there were more like northern states and stuff than southern states? Well, northern was like for ending slavery, so maybe he could have like had a vote, and since there were more northern, they could have overpowered the southern states.
Okay, that's a great idea, but why would the southern states not still secede? Okay, do you think they would anyway?
Probably.
Yeah, so we kind of have to think through exactly what the conditions were. That's all this work you guys have been doing up to this point, is talking about pre-war conditions. So what do those conditions tell you might have happened under different leadership or with different decisions? So here's what we're going to do. It's not just an idea that's on paper. Remember what we have seen and learned about the cruelty of slavery. And you've got to factor that into your decision. So I want to see, before we break up into groups, I would like to see you guys just give me a visual picture here. So aside from where I assign you as a group, everybody stand up. Up. Okay. So if you believe that the ends justified the means, this is just an opening question. We're going to do this again at the end. If you believe that the ends justify the means, I want you to go to this side of the room. If you believe that the ends did not justify the means, I want you to go to that side of the room.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, come on, Sarah.
Are you doing that just to be different, guys?
No.
Okay, all righty. Now, the overwhelming weight is on this side. So for those of you who are going to end up arguing the negative, that's going to be hard for you to do, but you have to give it your all. You have to try to make a case.
Okay, I have an idea. We're all going for the positive, so we think that the ends do justify the means. So,
I have
we're gonna
something.
say, okay, you guys first. Go ahead.
Okay, so like, the casualties were like
Yeah.
not permanent. Casualties were like once, but then like the end of slavery was permanent. So like, there's no more slaves.
Death is permanent.
Yeah, but there's like,
but like
But-
you don't population more
Right. And the population like
That's what-
reproduced and it got better.
yeah.
There's
That's
never gonna be
basically
slavery.
saying,
Yeah.
even though
But
people
okay,
made decisions-
for something for them though, it's like, okay, it's like,
You don't want to give them.
no, I'm saying we can like prove it wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so like they could have ended slavery in any other way, but they did it that way, and so yeah.
Yeah, but we have to decide whether or not. But we have to prove that the war was the only way that slavery could have been ended.
Okay, so the long-lasting
Yeah, but it's
ends
not. Somebody has to
outweigh
prove it
the
wrong.
Yes, it is.
short-term.
Really?
Yeah, but I think that if Lincoln had tried to do it any other way, the southern states could have just seceded like they did. You stole my word. Sorry. And so, yeah. So, how else would you do
Okay,
it?
I
Except
kind of want to
declare
do
war. Of course, you can declare war.
Let her do the writing.
It got progressively smaller.
Yeah, you're hitting something good.
No, you're the
And
fireman.
do justify
Cole, you're the person that gets it.
You get to talk.
You keep us in order.
You can present it.
You write.
Okay, wait. Where's an eraser?
I'll be a eraser.
Oh, I have the. Hey, I was the eraser. Huh?
What kind of name is that?
Wow.
Wait, why did you write it like that?
You have to write the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
So, conversation time.
Maybe we should use this textbook.
That's mine. Don't break it.
No, just open it and see what it says.
Oh, you're right there. Good job.
Am I writing now?
You can be a eraser.
Alright.
Okay, so
Let's see. Where
well,
should we
you
start
kind of
with?
have to like maybe move
Should
to
we
the
start
middle
with
so we
the
can see
chapter
what you're
that
writing.
talk about slavery? They have any tribal right. So guys, the ends did not justify the means because he went around the Constitution and he could have found another way to do it rather than killing everybody. Not everybody, but there was a lot of people that died and the ends did not justify the means. He went around. Okay.
Caesar's
Search
constitutional
of
powers.
seizure.
Yeah, he over.
He went beyond his constitutional powers as
Yeah,
president.
we need to find something that like he could do instead of that because we're just saying like all he did wrong.
Okay, but another thing
We'll
is,
talk about
he found a loophole. He like bended the Constitution so that he could get what he wanted to do because he wanted to put other people in jail because
Even when
like,
it wasn't constitutional
it's not constitutional because he can't hold them without
So let's make a
having a
list.
reason. But he wanted to hold them, so he did that.
So let's make a list of what he did that went beyond the powers.
He
Like
didn't give
suspending
people
habeas corpus.
The new.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys,
suspending.
so this is a list. Guys, this is a list under this. So make like a little dash there instead of the.
Crescent, we need
Where,
No, they
we have
No,
that.
no.
Erase this. Erase this one. Erase that one, and then it's gonna be dashes, kind of like.
Okay.
So he suspended habeas corpus, which means he kept prisoners without charging them of a crime.
Say suspended. No.
Then the
Yeah.
South would go to war with them, anyways.
Yeah, well, if they would've, like,
The South would have rebelled anyway.
Yeah, so there's literally no other way. Because, like, if they had tried to stop slavery, secede, any option of getting rid of slavery would have ended with the South seceding.
What if they outlawed before the South was dependent?
Well, true. The only possible way that they could have stopped it was at the very beginning with Jamestown. But that didn't happen. So,
Or early on.
Well, they sort of actually needed, like, honestly, slavery is actually necessary for the nation.
not really.
It wasn't 100% necessary, but it did help a lot
Well,
with, like, growing the nation.
Well, like at the beginning, they didn't really use slaves to like do crops or anything because they didn't have very many of those.
They
They had a lot.
They did.
Yeah, they had, like, a lot.
The question is.
There was, like, 10 slaves in Jamestown, like, the first few months.
Exactly. But did they have any like large crops there? Did they need slaves in order to do that?
Because there weren't, like, hardly any white guys there. Like, white men.
Well, then why didn't they?
Okay, right? 620 casualties.
The wives weren't supposed to work.
I did.
That's what slaves
No,
They could
like,
have children.
that's not
Children
permanent.
to learn to think through these kinds of issues on our own. This is about almost as big an issue as we can get. All right, so here's how I want to divide you. I want A through, let's do A through L to be the affirmative. You're over here, so if you're